Hello everybody, this is Booty Bopper here for a very stupid challenge run of Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. In this playthrough, we are not allowed to use any character that has the letter A in their name. That might sound stupid. You would be very correct. So, we're going to go ahead and begin. Now, this playthrough will be on normal mode. The reason for this is because a challenge run where we're not allowed to use any character that has an A in their name is not actually possible on any of the harder difficulties without extraordinary RNG manipulation. And RNG manipulation in Shadow Dragon is much more difficult than, say, in the Game Boy Advance Fire Emblem games. It is very tough to do that here. And I'll show you why. First of all, we have Marth. He's our lord. He has an A in his name. We can't use him for combat. Now, I'm saying specifically combat for a reason I'll get to in just a second. If you're familiar with this game, you'll know why we need to use Marth for non-combat reasons. But so Marth, can't have him in combat. Drow, he's our armor knight. He chokes points. He's not going to be choked. The only point he's going to be choking is on the bench. He's got an A in his name. It's also Drow, because he's going to the bench anyway, but can't use him. You got Caeda, Cavalier, really good. You know, got some long-term potential. We got no long-term potential here. He's never going to see combat. Why? He got an A in his name. Can't fight. I guess everybody with an A in their name just fucking, like, broke their legs or something? I don't know, but whatever the reason, can't fight. Caeda, Pegasus Knight. Best unit in the game, probably. Certainly on, like, Hard 5, best unit in the game. But she's got 2 A's in her name. She's double disqualified. Just can't use her. But then you're like, okay, but what if you got to rely on that old crutch? Jagen, the OG pre-promote. Jagen in this game is completely gangster, just ridiculously good. And got an A in his name, so time to hang up the cleats, it's time to retire. It's over, Jagen. I hate to break it to you. The only character you get in Chapter 1 that doesn't have an A in their name is Gordon, the Archer. This is why it's not possible to beat this chapter on hard mode without ridiculous RNG rigging, because Gordon will get swamped and surrounded, and he can't dodge anything, and he can't do any damage, and he sucks, and he won't be able to kill the boss fast enough from the healing without rigging crits. You can't do it. So I moved over to normal mode. On normal mode, you get 2 additional characters that you can recruit from the prologue. I didn't play the prologue. It's really boring. You know, for non-story reasons, if you're just trying to get through it. The first is the Archer Norn. Norn does not have an A in her name, but I didn't get her because I didn't want to have 3 units for this map because that kind of trivializes it. At that point, it becomes easy. But also, I tried doing it with just Gordon and Norn because I thought 2 archers would be hilarious. That too is also not possible without RNG rigging, and RNG rigging is not fun, especially in Shadow Dragon. It is way worse in the non-Game Boy games than in the Game Boy games. And the other character we get is the Cavalier Frey. Frey is really good, actually. He's one of the best characters in the game, I think. But, you know, doesn't have an A in his name, so we can use him. And that's what we're going to begin with. Now, the 2 exceptions is that first is with Marth. Marth we have to use. Every chapter in this game is a seize chapter. Marth has to reach the end. So we can use Marth to seize. We can also use Marth to visit villages. Marth is the only character in the game that is allowed to visit villages, and it's something that you really kind of have to do to beat this game, as far as I am aware. Certainly if we do not use Marth to visit villages, I don't know if Chapter 2 is possible, thanks to a village in this chapter that we can visit. So it's very important that, you know, we allow Marth to do that. If we didn't let him seize, we couldn't win. And then Caeda can recruit a lot of characters in this game. So if there's a character that does not have an A in their name, we will be allowed to recruit that character with Caeda. That's the only exceptions, the only 2 exceptions. And then just for the sake of expediency, I'm going to allow myself to, like, trade with Marth, do some convoy shenanigans, you know, things like that, just to expedite the game, because especially early on, it's just, like, not fun to, like, just wait around and do shit. So, first thing we immediately want to do is kill the thief. If we don't kill this thief, we are going to have a really bad time with this game, because this thief in particular may be the worst one in the game. Unfortunately, it does mean that, you know, we are... By the way, I'm just rearranging the weapons to make sure that nobody here can attack. I don't want anybody participating in combat, so that's what this is all about. And unfortunately, Kane still got his. And you might notice if you're a fan of these games, or this game, you know Abel, the other Cavalier, the of the duo, he's not here. That's because his name starts with an A, so I killed him in the prologue, because you don't want no A guy coming around here messing up your stuff. But let's go ahead and give this kill to Gordon. Probably a really bad idea to give this kill to Gordon, because look at all that experience. You think putting it on a Cavalier would be really nice, but nah. What's the point? We're gonna go Iron Sword on this guy. One thing we want to do is get Frey a javelin as soon as possible, which you're gonna do right now, because javelins in this game are very good. They are more powerful for some reason than iron lances. I don't know what the reasoning for this is, but it is the way that it is. And one of the harder parts of this challenge definitely is trying to keep everyone out of range. It's easy to keep Caeda out of range. It's a little more difficult with everybody else. So let's give the other vulnerary over there. But with the Javelin, we'll be able to have really good ranged attacks against these guys, and we are going to need it, because as you can see, even on normal mode, typically this is an easy map, but this starts to feel kind of like almost as hard as Hard 5 with only 2 characters that we can use for combat. So, go ahead and get Marth out of the way. We're going to move him up here because we want to get to the shop. We might as well shop with Kane. I mean, I don't think it really matters. Honestly, I don't think anybody's going to care. The sanctity of the challenge. We're going to buy a couple iron axes. We're going to buy 2 javelins, and we're going to buy an extra bow. And there we go. Perfect. So when we have the opportunity to take kills early on, I think we're definitely going to have to do that, because what we want to avoid are situations where we get just completely overrun, which is about 1 turn from happening, at which point we're going to have to go into weapon triangle disadvantage and start using our Iron Lance with Frey, because the Iron Lance is capable of 2-shotting the bandits, whereas the Iron Sword is just right at that threshold where it 3-shots them. So, unfortunately, that does cause issues for us. So we're going to move Gordon way out of the way as much as we can. And then Gordon will be susceptible to like 1 hit, but it's whatever. And then Frey will be fine, because this guy's AI will go for Gordon. This guy will go for Frey. He won't kill him. And then this guy won't even reach him. It's important to note that in this game, until you have an A rank, the weapon triangle does not affect how much damage you do. Oh, that's so clutch. The 75 dodge. Oh, and the 64 dodge. Oh, that's so legendary. Defense. I definitely am liking defense for this chapter. So, Gordon gets, what is he? Does Gordon get 3-shot? He gets 3-shot, I think. Yeah, but we're not going to have to worry about that, because we're going to kill these guys. And then This guy can be killed by Gordon at any time, so... yeah. We'll take out this guy first. So Iron Lance is really good. And then getting the Javelin will be really good, because again, for some reason, the Javelin is more powerful than the Iron Lance, which is just, from a balance perspective, makes literally no sense. Now, I do think they're going to attempt to go for Draug, but it's whatever, because we stripped him of his items, and if he dies, I mean, who really cares? We can't use him anyway. Oh, you're going for Gordon. What's wrong, you guys? You don't have to be this way. This is where things start getting a little bit dicey, if you can't tell. So, conserve a use. I would like to get up to D swords as quick as possible, give us access to the steel sword. And then, kind of beyond that, I think we want... well, first of all, let's get the Iron Lance over to him. This is where the fun begins. So this is why the Iron Lance is so incredibly important, because it allows Gordon to keep running away and healing and being able to survive. And if he's right here, he gets an extra point of defense, which is absolutely clutch. And then Frey does not get two-shot by these guys, so it allows us to stay safe. Now, at this point, I actually don't know who the enemies are going to prioritize. Oh, that's what we need. Oh, that's a god level. That is a god level. I think everybody here is good. No one here can engage in combat. I don't know if they're going to go for anybody up there. The only person that I don't want them going for is Marth, so I'm going to move Marth out of the way. Because I don't want Marth to get killed. I don't want us to get a game over because of Marth. Yeah, they're going to do this, but I don't really care. I actually care about this one because Caeda can recruit some of our non-A characters, so I kind of want her alive. I consider that pretty important. We'll move Marth right here. And... we're just outside of kill range with Frey, unfortunately. Armory gives us 5 avoid, though. You can never underestimate that 5 avoid. And at this point, yeah, we'll just work the sword rank then. The benchmarks that we really want to reach with Frey, I would say, are going to be... we want D swords, at which point we don't really care that much, and we want C lances. C lances can wait a minute, honestly, because we don't get access to, like, the Rider's Bane, which is the item. That's what we want, is the Rider's Bane. We don't get access to that for, like, a hot minute. So I'm not really, like, in a hurry for C lances. But it would be nice. And I think now, though, the good thing is that Frey should... oh, speed and defense. That's so good. Yeah, okay, the good thing now is that he does two-shot these guys, which is big. I'm not going to, like, at least early on, I'm not going to intentionally sack characters, even though that would be fun to do, because, you know, I never get the guidance chapters in this game, because, like, who does? It's just such a pain in the ass to get them, and they're not really designed, they're just designed for, like, casual playthroughs. If you're not familiar, basically, the way that, guidance chapters work in this game is that to get them, you have to have a certain number, you have to have below a certain number of living units, which doesn't really happen on most playthroughs. Even if you Iron Man this game, it doesn't really happen unless you're on, like, Hard 5 Iron Man or something, in which case you will see it happen. But mostly, yeah, that's never really, like, a thing. So, at this point, we're honestly doing really good. I think we've got this chapter now in the bag. The only issue is going to be Gazak. So this guy does not pose any kind of threat to Frey. The only thing that really matters is us kind of getting in there. I want to make sure he's in range for Gordon. We need to get to that fort. I want to get to that fort, like, ASAP, because I want to be able to... Oh, perfect. I want to get some heals in, some quick and free heals. Okay. Yeah, the beginning of this chapter is really hard, and I don't know if there's any way to do this with just Gordon. I don't think there is. I'm convinced it is definitely impossible. Although, Gordon and Norn, I think, would probably be a little bit doable, maybe? It's worth taking a look into, I think. Well, it's not really worth taking a look into, because it's a stupid challenge. Why would anybody ever do this? But, you know, I mean, just to know. Okay. The hope right now is that we can get, the hope is definitely to get, Frey to snowball. How much damage? This guy only does 2 damage to Frey, which is perfect, which means we can kill this guy. The goal is definitely we want Frey to snowball, become our best combat unit, and really carry us through this game until we can... I'll take it. If he can get to the point of doubling as well, that would just be really sick. This is dangerous, though, walking around here with 1 HP. With Gordon out of range. But is anybody else in range? Like, these guys are not... Does Frey double this dude? No, he does not. So, Frey needs to... run the fuck away is what actually has to happen. Because what we could do is... We could have vulneraried there, but honestly, like... I didn't feel like it. Like... Eh. It's whatever. Maybe we should have Iron Lanced him just so that Gordon, you know, could have... Ah, Gordon could have killed him if we Iron Lanced. That's okay. Let's get Marth out of the way, and then... Are you having fun yet? I'm definitely interested once we start getting more characters, and once we start sending some really good characters to the bench, because when I did the search for characters that have A's in their names, I was shocked at the fact that basically, if it's a good character in this game, it has an A in the name, except for, well, I guess, Frey and a couple of others that we can look at later. Yeah, go ahead and begin moving up. We're pretty much done with the chapter at this point. Where it's going to get obnoxious is going to be with the boss. And unfortunately, we are not doubling yet, which is just really, really bad. I would love to double with Frey, because once we start doubling, that's when we're going to really take off. And I'll tell you what this feels like, though, is if you ever play, like, really any of the games for the most part, and you start using, like, est characters, Nino, Amelia, like, this is kind of what it feels like, just having, like, not a good time, but you're trying to, like, build up these units that you need to, like, be good. And unfortunately, feeding kills to Gordon is just not working, but he's getting a lot of good chip. If you play the game on hard 5, really any hard difficulties, hards 3 through 4, hards 3, 4, and 5, Gordon is honestly really good for the early game because you need a lot of reliable chip damage. Because enemies in that game are just so strong, and it does take you a bit before you... Oh, we've got these swords finally. Nice. So we can use steel swords, and we get access to a steel sword next chapter, which is going to be the contribution of one of the A characters. Frey can reach the boss. I don't know how he does against him. This guy kind of messes Frey up. For 8 damage, 3 damage, that's 11. So Frey is actually fine to sit there, but we'll leave... We'll Leave the iron sword on. Man, this guy's got a steel axe and we're not doubling him. So, in a minute, you're going to see what the problem is of this game on doing this challenge. So, typically, you got Gazak here. He's on a throne, and this heals 20% of his HP. That's 2 to 3. I think it's 2. I think they round down and not up, so it's 2 HP. And Gordon at base does... He does a significant amount of damage, but he's not very accurate. You really need the steel bow, and then on a harder difficulty... On normal mode, he's fine, but on a harder difficulty, Gordon is just not going to do enough damage to really, like, handle the healing. And this is... If you play this game on hards 4 or 5, this is where, like, I would say the problems with those difficulty modes come in. See, because, like, where I said Gordon is really good, because the issue in hard 5 is that you just... It takes a long time before you get to the point where you can one-shot characters. So you need the chip damage, but early on, bosses are just awful and just make that mode such a chore. So we got Riss. He's a healer. Guess what? He doesn't have an A in his name. So he starts off with E staves, which is fine because we're going to be using him basically every single turn. He's going to build it up in no time. The goal in this game, if you're not familiar, we want C staves. We want C rank. That is absolutely what we need, and it's what we have to have. At C rank, you get access to warp, and warp is just so unbelievably good. Yeah, so as you see here, Gordon does 2 damage with okay accuracy. He's going to miss anyway. So it's like, fuck. So Gordon would not be able to do enough damage by himself to beat this boss. So you'd have to hope for really, really good level ups when you try to face this guy. So we're just going to sit here and keep missing. And then eventually maybe we'll even hit, which would be really nice. The other problem with this boss is you can see the hit rates with things like javelins are just awful and are really bad. So, but normal mode, thankfully, it's not as tedious, so we can just kind of really work on putting this guy down. So the next few turns, we're on, what, turn 23? Good God, this is like a 5-turn on a casual normal playthrough. Okay. We could really use these to hit. Yeah, the 2 damage is going to make a big difference. And we get a level, too. Luck! I forget if luck affects accuracy in this game. I don't think it does. I think luck is purely, like, a void. Oh, that's big. That's really clutch right there, that miss. You know, if you got skill even, I would have been okay with it. Or strength would have been the best. But you do what you got to do. Gordon is going to get a ton of levels. One of the things about this game that we're going to have to deal with later that I'm not really sure exactly yet what my kind of strategy is going to be is reclassing. Because reclassing is really what's going to make or break this game. Frey is fine. You know, we might reclass him at some point, maybe into a Wyvern Lord, depending on the chapter. But for the most part... Oh, speed. Okay. I don't know if we have yet hit the threshold. This guy's really fast. We're not going to, like... The Steel Axe does weigh him down a lot, though. I don't know what the Steel Axe weighs. Well... Oh, we do double him, but I'm not taking the risk when I am going to die, so... We'll wait one more turn, because we should kill this guy. Yeah. Alright, sweet, we did it. And we get Riss. Let's give him an extra heal in there. Get him a nice level. Riss's levels do not matter, and the stats he gets do not matter. All that matters is getting to see staves. So, that was Chapter 1 of Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon, but we cannot use characters that have A's in their names. See you all for Chapter 2. Bye-bye.